Welcome to part 2 in our series for sellers, where we expose the common pitfalls, traps, and those ultimately costly mistakes that we tend to make as sellers. I give you these words of caution from real life experiences, both as a homeowner seller and as an investor seller. So I share this knowledge with you to make sure that you avoid doing these things. In part 2 of this series, we focus on how to avoid that emotional gut reaction, and that's going to be by sleeping on it. Always put some time between you and the decision. Our initial reaction typically, especially if we are evaluating an offer that comes in a little bit lower than we were expecting, or with different terms that we were expecting, or anything kind of less than ideal, just because we typically have that perfect or ideal scenario that we can get our hearts and minds wrapped around. And so if we come in with anything different or less than or not as ideal, it can be a real shock. And typically that gut reaction is an emotional one. That first response is to either reject, get defensive, maybe lay blame, just ultimately want to throw in the towel. But that's just kind of that initial fight or flight reaction that we can be prone to getting. So we say sleep on it because that'll put you between that initial reaction as well as when it may come time to actually make the decision, which will give you the ability to establish more clarity. And then secondly, will give you the ability to prioritize your goals and your outcomes, to focus on the opportunity on the other side of that transaction so that you can value the offer or opportunity up against what it truly means to you to be able to move on once the deal is done. And if the value of moving on and getting on to your next best chapter outweighs, kind of the offer opportunities, typically it's best for you to take it. The last thing we want to do is be encumbered by, things from the past, sunk costs, things we have no control over, or situations we ultimately know we need to get out of that will better serve us and our interests and our desired outcomes. So there you have it, my second point of counsel in this series to prevent you from making the same mistakes that I have in the past as a seller.